Good day, friends. I hope you're doing really well. This is Tracy Brown, and my team and I provide trauma-informed nutrition counseling to help you feel safer in your own skin so that food and eating and digestion feels just so much easier. All right. And in the video we did earlier this week, we kind of went deep this week and talked a little bit about how your organs, your cells, they're listening with chronic rejection. And we learn self-rejection with our needs, with our body, from our environment. This is not something you were born with. That like, oh yeah, it's fun to reject myself, and that's what I'm going to do today, and that's my way of life. It's a learned process. Now, it doesn't always mean that somebody said, I'm rejecting you because you eat wrong and your body's wrong. It's just the things that we hear the environment say through their words and their actions and their own, self-actions toward themselves. So in this video, I thought I would talk a little bit about how part of the programming with all that is that we do live in a culture that the loudest voices are constantly talking about if you just eat right and move different or move more, you'll never be rejected, and you'll always be healthy, and you'll always be morally superior, and all the things, right? And the reality is, when we look at the science, is that only 25 to 30% of what determines our health, so it's called the social determinants of health, actually has to do with our behavior. So yes, getting adequate sleep and eating a variety of food and drinking enough clean water and moving our bodies in a way that feels congruent with our preferences and our body's capability. And listen, I'm doubting that anybody here is trying to get on an Olympic team or get a Nike scholarship or endorsement deal or whatever. If you are, awesome. I get it that you're going to have to use your body at a higher level to get that, whatever. But most of us watching this are not. I'm just going to put it out there. And so we don't need to be moving in a way that we think we do to enhance health. Most of the time, we're pushing it to our edges and the extremes that our bodies can do, that our time constraints have, because we think we need to do it to prove that we're worthy or to get a smaller body or whatever. So we know the real motivation, right? Those of us who have been doing this work any more than a few minutes here. So the reality is that like a quarter is to less than a third of eating, sleeping, moving, all that, will impact our health. And now you have another, 70 to 75% of our health has other determinants in it. And of course, if you go Google this right now, you'll find it where it's like, it matters where we live. It matters, if we've had repair from traumatic experiences or chronic stress or money concerns or where we live, if it's safe or violent or whatever, all those things have an impact, majority of the impact. And I want to put in here really our emotional, mental, social capacity. And if you're chronically telling yourself that you're going to get rejected or that you're rejectable based on what you look like and what you're doing way more harm to your health than you would be if, all you do all day long is really over stress about the kind of food you're taking in, to be honest. I was thinking the other day, we have a certain percentage of our population of clients that, parents and teens, and sometimes the majority of the education we're doing is around like, okay, you have a room and you can't, it's like things don't feel very smooth or very workable in like the family system are working because everybody's like too busy, too active, working too much, too many activities. And sometimes parents are kind of wondering like, why is my kiddo depressed or anxious or melting down or can't communicate? And then we look at the food, it's like, well, there's not much choice or agency here, and there's just not enough. And if we want to fix about 80% of this issue right now, we need to make sure there's caloric adequacy. And a slower pace that allows for embodiment. That would fix a lot of this. So it's almost like having a room where it's like we're so over-focused on the window dressings and the quality of the lampshade when we're stepping over the giant hole in the floor. Our foundation is falling apart because we're not doing first things first, which is safe and good enough connection and adequacy of basic needs getting met. Sleep, water, food, stuff like that. So, and those are all forms of rejection that we wouldn't name because our culture, is up here around like nutrigenomics and being filling every possible moment of our day with production and activity. And most of this, we call it an industrious, over-focused strategy of learning really young that what seems to make people around me happy, or at least less unhappy, is that if I'm constantly producing something, whether it's A's or cleaning or emotionally caretaking or whatever it is, So this is where we learn these things, and it's 100% culturally encouraged as well. So when we go back to the piece around where in us is malnourished, where in us is being rejected, it might be sincerely with your basic food needs. Like, I'm not slowing down to eat in a way that helps me feel, let's say, blood sugar stable, or helps you feel nourished, or helps me know inside that like there's a competent adult here that cares about my needs. We're not doing those things. And instead we're trying to like, if I get my food perfect, then I'm okay. And we get that from the influences from our culture. So it's all a form of self-rejection that I'm encouraging today to look at. Get your journal out, your pen, and start thinking about where are the ways in which I tell myself, well, not yet, we don't have time for that, or well, I'll do that one day, or this one last thing, and then I'll eat, and you keep kicking the can down the road, or it's sleep, or it's rest, or it's connection, or all the things. And essentially what we're doing is recapitulating the rejection, the initial rejections. And I'm saying here that I know everybody watching this video is probably feeling like, yeah, that's not my values. I don't want to do that to myself. It breaks my own heart, and I'm not doing it anymore. So time for that healing to happen. Thank you so much for watching, and we're going to do some practical stuff next week. We're going to kind of come out of the deep and go back to some practical stuff. And again, when the practical is hard, that means, again, there's probably a rejection here in this, or some missing gaps that either diet culture ripped away, or maybe our initial environments weren't that great at providing, or whatever it is okay. We're going to we're going to work on putting back some of that in, but it still takes the yield. It still takes your intentionality and your willingness to say, like, this stuff is important. It does matter. It's not too much. It's not too, I don't deserve this much care. Like, the reality is that most of us, spent a lot of our life just trying to be in survival. And when we have more capacity, we see that, like, yeah, the optimal way we want to live does take some effort and some adulting, but it's not really a threat. It's uncomfortable sometimes and it takes some effort, but we got this. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week. Bye for now.